Hi, my name is Corey Ecker, and this is my audition tape for Blueprint LSAT Instruction. I have two arguments here we want to discuss. The first one, number one from the instruction question sheet, is what we call an inference question. It says, if the following statements above are all true, which one of the following must also be true on the basis of them? So we know we're going to be given a list of facts. Some will be descriptions of condition, and others may be descriptions of relationship. And based on those facts, we can draw certain conclusions or draw inferences from those. So in this case, we have several specific facts. We see that this summer, Jennifer, who's worked at KVZ Manufacturing for just over 3 years. So our first fact is that Jennifer has been there for more than 3 years. No whiteboard, but I do have this nice piece of paper. Our second fact, she plans to spend her entire 4 weeks of paid vacation to which she's entitled this year. So we know she gets 4 weeks paid. So Jennifer has just over 3 years of work experience and is entitled to 4 weeks of paid vacation. We also have a general description, a description of conditional relationship. So anyone who's worked at KVZ Manufacturing for 1 to 4 years is entitled to exactly 3 weeks paid per year. So we know Jennifer has these two characteristics, and we know people that work at this company have this characteristic, this conditional relationship. And we have an additional piece of information. We know that they can apply up to half of unused time to the next year. So we have these 4 statements of fact. We have 2 of them concerning Jennifer specifically, and 2 that are more general about the conditions in which Jennifer's existence is occurring. What can we infer from this? So we know that Jennifer's going to take 4 weeks of vacation. We know that she's worked for just over 3 years, which puts her in this category. She's one of these people who's worked between 1 and 4 years. So we know she's entitled to 3 weeks of vacation per year, and she's planning to take more than that, which means we must be going to our second rule. Half of any unused time from previous years can be applied to the next year. So it sure looks like she's used exactly 2 weeks. She did not use 2 weeks of her vacation time last year. Okay, so let's look for an answer choice that says she did not use 2 weeks of her vacation time last year. And when we look at answer choice A, we see that Jennifer did not use 2 weeks of the paid vacation time to which she was entitled last year. So far, this one's looking pretty good. It says pretty much what we predicted. We predicted an answer, and we saw what we were looking for. Excellent. But let's look at the rest of the answer choices anyway. Let's demonstrate those are not correct. So answer choice B, if Jennifer continues to work for KVZ Manufacturing, she will only be entitled to 3 weeks paid vacation next year. Well, okay, if the rules don't change, that looks like it would be true. She's going to take all 4 weeks that she's entitled to this year, which would leave her no leftovers. But do we know these rules won't change? Maybe KVZ will have to tighten their belts and will only do 2 weeks of paid vacation next year. This, we don't have enough support to say that's true. Answer choice C, the majority of KVZ's employees use each year all of the paid vacation time to which they're entitled. Does the information in the argument tell us anything about the majority of their employees? I don't think we have enough information to comment on the majority of the employees. So I might say that this answer choice is outside the scope of the argument. Answer choice D, last year she only took 1 week of the paid vacation time to which she was entitled. Well, we know she didn't take 2, but do we know she was only entitled to 3? Did she maybe have weeks of time left over from the previous year? So we can't say that for sure. This just is, we can't quite prove it. It's like answer choice B. We don't have enough information to demonstrate that that's the only correct answer. Answer choice E, do we know that KVZ Manufacturing sometimes allows extra vacation time to employees who need to spend more time with their families? I don't see anything in the original information, any of the facts we've been given, that deal with spending time with their families. So I can say that that is also outside of scope and not supported. Okay. So that's our first question of an inference variety. They give us conditional facts, such as the 2 dealing with the rights of KVZ, what KVZ employees are entitled to, and circumstance facts, the things that Jennifer plans to do. And from that we draw specific conclusions indicating that answer choice A is our best answer. Looking at looking at our second argument, it's of a different variety. This is, when we look at the question stem, it says the reasoning in this argument is most vulnerable to criticism on the grounds that the argument. So the key words there are vulnerable to criticism. This is asking us what the argument is doing wrong. If we wanted to demonstrate the conclusion was incorrect, which of the logical fallacies might we point out? So we need to identify the conclusion for this argument. And in this case, we can see, I see a sense and a could. So sense something indicates evidence. The word sense would indicate evidence. Studies show recovery rates at 2 hospitals, some for patients with similar illnesses. That indicates that our conclusion might be our last sentence here, the last half of the second sentence. University hospital could decrease its average length of patient stay without affecting the quality of care. So, okay, the author believes that university hospital could decrease its average length of patient stay without affecting quality of care. And the author believes this for reasons given further up in the argument. So let's look at those reasons given. We know that the average length of stay for Edgewater patients, so Edgewater hospital patients have an average length of stay of 4 days. And we know that University Hospital has an average length of stay of 6 days. So that's our first two statements of fact to deal with length of stay. The third statement, says studies show that recovery rates at 2 hospitals are similar with patients for similar illnesses. So when their illnesses are similar, we know that they have similar recovery time. Okay, so the author takes information about their average length of stays and a comparison between the 2 hospitals' handling of the same illnesses, showing they have average recovery time. And from that, draws the conclusion that a university hospital could reduce average stay without affecting quality care. Okay, so what concept appears in the conclusion that appears nowhere else in this argument? I see average length of stay, I see comparison of results, recovery rates. So what ideas are new? What ideas are new in our conclusion? If I say that quality of care is a new idea, that's something we haven't really discussed. The authors discussed average length of stay, and the authors discussed recovery rates, so how quickly they recover from the same illnesses. And the author seems to be drawing conclusions about the relationships between average length of stay and quality of care that aren't necessarily described in the premises. So I'm going to be looking, when I look at my answer choices, for errors involving equating quality of care with rate of recoveries on same illnesses. All right, if I don't see that, we need to look for other types of errors. But I'd probably make a first pass through my answer choices based on what I see right there. So let's look at some of the answer choice here. One moment. When we look at answer choice A, we see it says that is the argument most vulnerable to criticism on the grounds that the argument equates the quality of care at a hospital with patients' average length of stay. And that kind of has some of the words we're looking for, so we'll keep that one for now, even though I'm not totally in love with it. We look at answer choice B, and it says we can ask ourselves, is the primary criticism of the argument, its primary flaw, does the argument treat a condition that will ensure the preservation of quality care as a condition that is required to preserve the quality of care? And we haven't talked about this just yet, but this is what's called a necessary sufficient confusion error. The author will treat a condition, as it says in the answer choice, that guarantees something will occur, as if that condition is required in order for that thing to occur. And arguments that make that error have specific language in them that we don't see in this case. We would see language in which the author would describe a conditional statement and then draw a conclusion about related to that conditional statement in some way. But we don't really have conditional statements described in our the premises of the argument here. So probably not answer choice B. Answer choice C, does the argument fail to take into account the possibility that patients at Edgewater Hospital tend to be treated for different illnesses than patients at the university hospital. And that's actually interesting because we see an author drawing conclusions about real length, like reducing the average stay for university hospital, not affecting quality of care, based on the difference, a comparison in averages between one hospital and another. So let's say, hypothetically, that the Edgewater Hospital mostly specializes in outpatient or short-term stay things like tonsil removal and things like that. And the university hospital, it does a lot more ICU, where people might be in recovery for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Would that change the way that their average might work, even though they have similar recovery times for similar illnesses? That might be a legitimate reason not to decrease average length of stay, at least not be able to conclude we can decrease average length of stay without affecting quality of patient care. So I got to keep answer choice C for now. It looks pretty solid. At some point we need to come back and decide between A and C, but we'll do that in just a minute. Does the argument presume that the length of time patients stay in the hospital is never relevant to the recovery rates of those patients? I don't think this is really within the scope of the argument. We're talking about a relationship between the length of time they stay in the patients and the recovery rates of those patients. So that would be like maybe they recover faster if they're only there 2 days than if they're there 6 days, but now recovering faster from similar illnesses is left out. So we can't really draw any conclusions about this being that the author decided this was never relevant. I can't say the author decided it was never relevant. Does the argument fail to take into account the possibility that patients at University Hospital generally prefer longer hospital stays? Well, the argument doesn't discuss what patient preference about the length of their stays, but that's not particularly relevant to the strength of the argument. The author's conclusion and premises have nothing to do with patient preference either, so we can eliminate that one. Not relevant. Not supported. Necessary sufficient confusion error. Sorry, wanted to indicate we have answer choices, necessary sufficient confusion error, not my best writing, I'm better on the whiteboard. Not supported for answer choice D, there's no support. This doesn't provide any support in the passage the author did this. And answer choice E, it's irrelevant to the strength of the conclusion. So now we compare answer choices A and C. Is the most vulnerable to criticism that it equates the quality of care at a hospital with patients' average length of stay, or is it most vulnerable to criticism that it fails to take into account the possibility that patients at Edgewater Hospital tend to be treated for different illnesses than the patients at the university hospital? And if we look closely at answer choice A, the author seems to believe that the quality of care at a hospital is not the same thing as the average length of stay. If he'd said that, then he would believe that the university hospital has a better quality of care because there's a longer average length of stay. So when we examine it more closely, it doesn't actually say what we need it to say, and we can eliminate that. The author does not do this, suggesting that answer choice C is our best answer. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the audition. I'd be happy to do more if necessary. Have a good day.